Hey guys, it's this video. We're here back with more Georgia recaps. This last episode that we did this, I talked about who would win Georgia versus Alabama, and just like most people, most people say Alabama would win, but I said Georgia would win, and guess what? I told you so because we won 33-18. It was a close game for most until really the end, and we're going to recap it. So before really much happened, it was only 3-3. Jameson Williams got hurt while running after the catch. But I'm not trying to say that. I'm sad that he got hurt. It would have been maybe a closer game if he came back. I still think we would have won. But it's just a free, easy excuse for Alabama fans to say, "Well, Georgia doesn't deserve to win. We're not going to give them the championship." And I don't care because number one, it was still 3-3 before that. It was like we were getting our butt kicked until Jameson Williams got hurt. And number two, just because your player got hurt doesn't mean we didn't come back from losing thanks to Stetson Bennett. I don't want to spoil the game too much because I'm recapping it here. But I'm trying to tell you that we won, and it wasn't because of injuries. After the first half, Stetson Bennett and Bryce Young couldn't score at all. Couldn't really get too far down the field. But Alabama still led 6-9. Just kicked more field goals, I guess. A lot of sacks, a lot of deflections, stuff like that. No interceptions, no big turnovers yet. But then later, this was pretty early in the third quarter. A big interception by Christopher Smith leads to nothing because our offense still struggled during the beginning of the third quarter. Bryce Young just completely overthrew that. That had nothing to do with the receivers not being there. He threw it past him like maybe 5 to 10 yards past the receiver, and for Smith, one of the better safeties in the league, in my opinion, was right place, right time. So, but I'm still really mad that we couldn't score there. Like we were back at the 50 around then, but still, we had the first turnover of the game. It should have given us so much momentum, but we didn't score anyway. But then we finally get something going as James Cook gets I'm going to say 50-yard run, maybe 60 yards, and then leads to a touchdown by Zeus, a.k.a. Zamir White. Now, this would make the score 13-12. This would give Georgia their first real advantage because Alabama could not score TD for a long time. But speaking of that, Alabama kicked the field goal to make it a one-point game. We were still winning until Stetson Bennett fumbles and allows Alabama to score 18-13. Now, this was the craziest play of the game so far. Because Stetson Bennett, it looked like he threw it so Brandon Batch, I think his name is, just nonchalantly picked up the ball at the edge, like inches, maybe 1 inch from the out of bounds line, caught it, and then went out of bounds. Because he thought it was a forward pass. Thank goodness that he didn't think it wasn't, because if he didn't, he would have ran it back. But they still scored a touchdown anyway, and we failed the extra point. Bama takes the lead 18-13. And Georgia started to lose hope. But then during our next drive, maybe not, maybe it was a couple between them, but A.D. Mitchell Mosses, number 6, who they say was a young corner. And we take the lead 19-18 after failing a 2-point conversion as well. But this was the greatest play of the game so far. I didn't talk about the Pickens catch, but that was amazing too. A.D. Mitchell was literally just frying this man in the end zone. And I went insane, man. That was great. Especially because it was an offside, so he just threw it up. Usually those kind of go out of bounds because they don't focus on it too much. But it worked in our favor, even though they got a head start. Brock Bowers scores again, and it's 26-18, and that's an 8-point differential. But I want to talk about this. So basically, I was watching the play. Brock Bowers caught it, got a block, which I thought was a holding because a flag came out during that play, and they were talking for a while. Yeah, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is a holding on Brock Bowers or something. So, I mean, not Brock Bowers, the guy who was blocking for him, number 81. But then they said roughing the passer because this man uppercutted Stetson Bennett. So of course we declined it, and it's 26-18. Then Ringo clutches the 3-touchdown comeback win against Alabama for the national championship. This is the first time it happened in 41 years, and Georgia finally takes it home 33-18. You could see just desperation in Bryce Young's face. He just chucks the ball into nowhere land and picked off. We take it back. That's when everyone knew it was over. We had everybody was watching. Everybody was ready, but we knew the game wasn't over. We've watched comebacks before, late comebacks by Tom Brady himself, but Bryce Young couldn't do it. He throws a pick, and we win the national championship. Now Ringo was getting torched that day. I'm really happy that he picked it off, and I wanted him to go down because I was scared that they were going to make him fun, but he did not. I'm pretty sure even Kirby Smart wanted him to, and then he just went home anyway. And offensive player of the game was Stetson Bennett, of course. He literally came back so well, and he just played like a completely different player. Though we have to give shouts to Zamir White and James Cook. They were both amazing that game, averaging 6 and 12 yards respectively. Zamir White averaged 7. And the defense was just amazing. First of all, Bryce Young could not do anything against his offense for the most part. And that he never even got a chance to run because he was getting pressured every single play by our speedy edge rushers and our powerful defensive tackles. Jacoby Dean hyped up Tyndall after a bad play, helped him get a sack. Our secondary probably had one of his best games of the year since maybe the Clemson game. So, it's just special. And our defensive player, speaking of cornerbacks and defensive backs, is Lucine. Now, you might be mad that Ringo or Smith didn't win it, or maybe even Dean. But Scene deserved it. He made so many good tackles. And, I feel like not too many people recognized it, but Scene was amazing. Definitely deserved it. Everyone on this team deserved it. Even I was doubting Stetson to bench him because he was trash in the first half. I guess Kirby didn't want to follow Nick Taylor's footsteps and bench their QB. Kept in Stetson, he balled out and won the game. But there's just one more thing I want to say. Georgia won. They won the SEC champ. They lost the SEC championship to Alabama. Came back and defeated them. There's no complaining about injuries because Pickens had one catch the entire game. So both teams had the best receiver out, and Alabama's supposed to have depth. So I don't even know how y'all complain after 2 of your best receivers got hurt. And guess what? Y'all still have good players. Your tight end did really good. And Brady Ford did pretty good too. But and then y'all complain. Y'all are supposed to be the best team. Doesn't mean Georgia. Even without Pickens and McConkey, we still have Burton, number 9, and Bowers. We had players behind them, and we even moved Cook the receiver. We prepared that entire game. So you can't say anything about this not being fair for Bama. They've won 7 times, I think, maybe 6. I guess 7 though, in 11 years. And the one time that they're injured and lose, Georgia doesn't deserve the championship. People can't just accept the loss because I watched Falcons blow a 28-3 lead. I watched Georgia blow a halftime lead. And we win once, and we apparently don't deserve it, and it was fraudulent because their player got hurt. Come on, man. It's like we hit him in the leg. He literally hurt himself. I'm not trying to say it's his fault because you can't really stop injuries, but you're not taking this championship away just because your player got hurt. Even though you still had the Heisman winner, Bryce Young. You had the terrorizer, Will Anderson. They had 2-0, I think. I don't know. He's a great linebacker, too. You had Robinson, who only averaged 3 yards per carry, which is less than half of Zeus's yards per carry. You can't complain about this, man. Y'all lost. Just accept it. Case closed. But guys, if you enjoyed, and even if you're an Alabama fan, I'm just trying to explain. Georgia won that game fair and square. Your player got hurt. I'm sorry. I hope he gets well soon, especially before the draft. But Pickens had one big catch, got barely any stats after that. Got past him finish, but that has nothing to do with that, man. He didn't even touch the ball. It's just that they were grabbing our player because they knew that Pickens is a big playmaker even when he was hurt. We played the better game. Bryce Young made mistakes. We pressured him and he threw dumb passes. But no matter who you're cheering for, if you enjoyed this video, like it. This isn't even trying to be disrespectful. It's just that I've seen so many already disrespectful people talking about our team like it's trash. But I just hope that you guys learn to, kind of be fair. Let us celebrate. But whatever, man. Just don't act like this is our last time winning the championship in 41 years. We're going to win it again soon. Mark my words. But anyways, this is XYG. I got Shanayo. Adios.